Most people wait their entire lives for a turning point. They believe change comes from a miracle moment, a lucky break, or someone showing up to save them. But the truth is, the turning point usually arrives quietly when you're alone, tired, questioning yourself, and wondering how you ended up here. Right now, some of you are carrying silent battles, disappointment you don't talk about, dreams you quietly buried, a version of yourself you miss. You smile in public, but inside you know you were meant for more than what you've accepted. Life has a strange way of breaking us down until we're left with a choice to stay shattered or rebuild. Rebuilding is not about becoming someone new. It's about uncovering who you were before fear, doubt, failure, and opinions started shaping your limits. It's not about instant success or loud victories. It's about quiet decisions made in lonely moments when no one is watching. Because the truth is, the strongest people in the room are not the ones who never fell apart. They're the ones who fell apart and decided to rise anyway. Tonight, this is not just a speech. This is your moment of decision. Personal responsibility is the foundation of growth because it places the power of change directly where it belongs, in your own hands. When you accept responsibility for your life, you stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstances and start seeing yourself as the creator of your outcomes. This shift in mindset is not just motivational language. It is a practical turning point that separates people who stay stuck from those who move forward. Growth cannot occur in a mindset of blame, excuse, or denial, because those mental habits keep you focused on what is outside your control rather than what is within it. Taking personal responsibility means acknowledging that while you may not control everything that happens to you, you do control how you respond. Many people wait for better conditions, more support, or clearer instruction before they begin to improve. They believe that success comes from perfect timing or external validation. In reality, growth begins when you stop waiting and start owning your decisions, your habits, and your reactions. When you recognize that your current situation is at least partially shaped by your past choices, you also realize that your future can be shaped by the choices you make today. This principle is not about guilt or self-criticism. It is about empowerment. Blaming yourself harshly leads to paralysis, while taking responsibility leads to progress. There is a major difference between saying, "I am a failure," and saying, "I made a poor choice and I can make a better one next time." The first statement locks your identity into a negative label. The second keeps your identity intact while allowing your behavior to evolve. Growth thrives in that space where honesty meets hope. When you adopt personal responsibility, your standards begin to rise naturally. You no longer tolerate low performance because you understand that your effort directly affects your results. You begin to examine your routines, your time management, and your priorities with a sense of ownership rather than resentment. Instead of saying, "I don't have time," you start asking, "How am I using my time?" Instead of saying, "They made me angry," you begin to ask, "Why did I let that situation control my mood?" These questions are powerful because they return control to you without depending on others to change first. Responsibility also teaches resilience. When something goes wrong, you stop collapsing and start analyzing. You ask what could have been done differently, what lesson is hidden in the failure, and what skill needs to be developed. This approach turns obstacles into feedback instead of verdicts. People who master personal responsibility do not have fewer problems, they simply have better responses. They do not waste energy complaining about unfairness. They invest their energy in improvement. That is why they seem to grow faster and recover stronger. Another important aspect is the way responsibility shapes confidence. Confidence does not come from pretending to be strong, it comes from keeping promises to yourself. Every time you take ownership of your actions and follow through, you build self-trust. This kind of trust is quiet but powerful. It doesn't rely on applause. It relies on integrity. Over time, this internal stability makes you less dependent on external approval and more grounded in your own discipline. Personal responsibility also influences relationships and leadership. When you own your mistakes, you become more credible. People respect consistency and honesty far more than perfection. Owning your words and actions reduces conflict because it removes defensiveness and pride from the equation. It creates an environment where growth is normal, not shameful. This quality makes you dependable, and dependable people naturally attract opportunities, respect, and trust. Ultimately, personal responsibility is the soil in which all other personal development principles grow. Without it, goals remain wishes and dreams remain fantasies. With it, every experience becomes a chance to improve. It transforms setbacks into lessons, effort into progress, and intention into action. It is the quiet decision to stop pointing outward and start building inward, to stop waiting for rescue and start becoming reliable to yourself. This mindset does not make life easy, but it makes progress inevitable. Adversity is a classroom, not a punishment, because hardship has a way of teaching lessons that comfort and ease never could. When life becomes difficult, the natural reaction is to resist it, question it, or even resent it. Many people see adversity as evidence that something has gone wrong or that they have been singled out for struggle. In reality, adversity is one of life's most structured and effective teachers. It does not arrive to destroy you, but to shape you, sharpen you, and prepare you for a stronger future. When everything is easy, growth slows down. Comfort creates stagnation because it removes the need to adapt, to think deeply, and to push personal limits. On the other hand, difficulty forces awareness. It brings hidden weaknesses to the surface and challenges false beliefs about ability and endurance. In moments of struggle, you discover what you are truly capable of handling. You also discover what you have been avoiding, what you have neglected to build, and where your mindset needs reinforcement. Adversity teaches discipline in ways motivation never can. When circumstances are favorable, it is easy to feel inspired and driven. When circumstances are harsh, inspiration often disappears. That is where the real education begins. You learn how to move forward without excitement, how to act without applause, and how to stand without external support. This is not a glamorous process, but it is a powerful one. The person you become during hardship is far more valuable than the comfort you temporarily lose. Another lesson adversity teaches is perspective. When facing loss, failure, rejection, or disappointment, priorities begin to shift. You stop taking simple things for granted. Gratitude becomes more real and less forced. You begin to understand the weight of time, the value of relationships, and the importance of inner strength. These realizations do not come from books or speeches. They come from experience. Pain, when properly understood, clears mental clutter and reveals what truly matters. Adversity also develops emotional control. Easy circumstances rarely require strong emotional management. Hard ones demand it. You learn how to sit with discomfort without letting it control your decisions. You learn how to breathe through pressure instead of escaping it. You learn how to manage fear rather than be ruled by it. These are not talents people are born with. They are skills forged through challenge. Each difficult experience strengthens your emotional muscles, even if you don't realize it in the moment. There is also a hidden gift in adversity: humility. Struggle reminds you that you are human, that you are in a process, and that you do not have everything figured out. This realization can be painful, but it is also freeing. It opens the door to learning, growth, and improvement. People who have faced genuine hardship tend to be more compassionate, more patient, and more understanding. They speak with depth, not theory. They carry wisdom, not just information. Adversity removes illusions. It strips away false confidence and exposes weak foundations. If your identity is built only on success, failure will shake you. If your self-worth depends only on praise, rejection will break you. But in that breaking, there is a chance to rebuild something real. You begin to anchor yourself in character rather than comfort, in effort rather than applause. This is how inner strength is born. Seeing adversity as a classroom requires a mature mindset. It does not mean you celebrate pain or seek suffering. It means you choose to extract value from every difficult experience instead of wasting it through bitterness. You shift from asking, "Why is this happening to me?" to "What is this teaching me?" That single shift transforms the entire experience. The pain may remain, but the meaning changes. The people who grow the most are not those who had the easiest lives, but those who learned the most from their hardest moments. Adversity writes lessons directly into your character. It teaches patience through waiting, courage through fear, wisdom through mistakes, and strength through recovery. It quietly prepares you for responsibilities you are not yet able to handle, and for opportunities you could not manage in your present form. Daily discipline creates long-term transformation because real change is rarely the result of dramatic, one-time decisions. Instead, it is built quietly through repeated actions that seem small in the moment but compound over time. Most people overestimate what they can achieve in a day and underestimate what they can become through consistent effort. Discipline is not about intensity, it is about reliability. It is the ability to show up for yourself even when motivation is low and circumstances are not ideal. When you practice daily discipline, you train your mind to value progress over comfort. Comfort is tempting because it feels good instantly, while discipline often feels uncomfortable at first. Waking up early, exercising, reading, learning new skills, and avoiding distractions do not always feel rewarding in the short term. However, these actions slowly rewire your identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who follows through, someone who doesn't break promises to themselves. That shift in self-perception is one of the most powerful forms of transformation. Discipline works because it removes the need for constant decision-making. When you build a routine, your actions become automatic. You no longer debate whether you should work on your goals. You simply do it because it's part of who you are. This reduces mental fatigue and emotional resistance. The mind learns to accept structure instead of fighting it. Over time, what once felt difficult becomes normal, and what once felt impossible becomes familiar. The true power of daily discipline lies in compounding. A single workout doesn't change your body, a single study session doesn't make you an expert, and a single healthy meal doesn't transform your lifestyle. But hundreds of workouts, study sessions, and healthy choices do. Like financial interest, these actions build upon themselves. Weak habits compound into weakness, while strong habits compound into strength. The direction of your future is shaped by the repetition of your daily choices, not by occasional bursts of effort. Another important aspect of discipline is its role in emotional stability. When your actions are governed by mood, your results become inconsistent. Some days you feel inspired and perform well, other days you feel tired and do nothing. Discipline breaks that cycle. It teaches you to act regardless of how you feel. This creates emotional resilience because you learn to function under pressure, boredom, fatigue, and doubt. You stop being controlled by temporary feelings and start being guided by long-term vision. Daily discipline also builds patience. Transformation is slow, and this slowness discourages many people. They expect visible results in a short time, and when those results don't appear, they quit. Discipline teaches you to trust the process without immediate rewards. You begin to understand that growth is occurring beneath the surface long before it becomes visible. Just like seeds grow roots before they break through the soil, your efforts are creating internal change before external success shows. Through discipline, your standards naturally rise. You start expecting more from yourself in a healthy way. You become uncomfortable with wasted time and missed opportunities. You begin to value effort, structure, and focus. This does not turn you into a rigid person. It turns you into a reliable one. Reliability to yourself is a rare quality, and it leads to confidence that is calm and steady rather than loud and fragile. Discipline also acts as protection against regret. Many people live with the pain of knowing they could have done more, tried harder, or stayed consistent. Daily discipline reduces that pain because you know you are giving an honest effort. Success becomes less about perfection and more about persistence. Even when results are slow, you maintain peace of mind because you are honoring your potential through action. Over time, the identity you build through discipline becomes stronger than your old limitations. You become someone who finishes what they start, who respects their time, and who understands the value of effort. Your environment, relationships, and opportunities begin to change because you have changed internally. The world responds differently when you carry discipline in your habits and quiet confidence in your behavior. This is how small, repeated actions quietly evolve into massive long-term transformation. Your environment shapes your direction because human behavior is deeply influenced by what is seen, felt, heard, and repeatedly experienced. Even the strongest mind is affected by surroundings because people adapt to what feels normal. If laziness is normal, discipline feels extreme. If negativity is normal, optimism feels unrealistic. If growth is normal, improvement feels natural. The environment quietly trains perceptions, expectations, and standards long before conscious decisions are made. The people you spend time with play one of the biggest roles in shaping your direction. Conversations, attitudes, beliefs, and habits transfer from one person to another without force. When surrounded by individuals who complain, make excuses, and avoid responsibility, those behaviors start to seem reasonable. On the other hand, when you are around people who value effort, time, learning, and accountability, your own standards begin to rise. This is not about copying others, but about absorbing what feels normal within your social circle. Energy spreads, mindset spread. Either growth spreads or stagnation spreads. Your physical environment influences your mental clarity more than most people realize. A cluttered room leads to a cluttered mind. Noise increases stress. Chaos creates distraction. Structure creates calm. When you organize your space, you are not just cleaning a room. You are reinforcing the idea that your life deserves order. A simple desk, a quiet workspace, a clean living area, and controlled digital spaces shape how focused and productive you can be. When your environment is aligned with your goals, daily effort becomes smoother. Digital environments are equally powerful. What you repeatedly consume shapes what you believe is possible. Social media feeds, videos, news, and content can either strengthen your mindset or weaken it. Constant exposure to comparison, negativity, and unrealistic standards can distort your perception of your own progress. On the other hand, educational and motivational content can build clarity, confidence, and direction. Your digital space is an invisible environment that influences emotions, habits, and decisions every day. Environment also includes routines and systems. The structure of your day creates a rhythm, and that rhythm eventually becomes identity. If your environment encourages procrastination through easy access to distractions, you will drift. If your environment makes it easy to act on good habits and difficult to fall into bad ones, you will naturally progress. Small adjustments, like placing a book where you can see it or removing temptations from your immediate space, guide behavior silently. Your financial and professional environments also shape direction. If you work in places where growth is discouraged, curiosity feels risky. If you live in conditions where survival is the only focus, dreaming feels impractical. But when you place yourself in environments that value development, learning opportunities begin to appear. You start to think bigger because the space around you allows it. Even exposure to different lifestyles and possibilities can expand mental boundaries. The emotional environment you create within yourself is just as important. Self-talk, internal dialogue, and personal expectations form an inner environment that either supports or sabotages growth. If the inner voice is critical, progress feels heavy. If the inner voice is encouraging, effort feels meaningful. The brain responds to familiar emotional patterns and sticks to what feels safe, even if it is limiting. Changing direction often requires creating a new emotional atmosphere inside. One of the most powerful aspects of environment is that it works silently and continuously. Unlike motivation, which comes and goes, environment is always present. It influences without announcing itself. Many people try to change their lives using willpower alone, without changing the environment that keeps pulling them back into old habits. That battle is exhausting and unnecessary. When the environment improves, the struggle reduces. Your direction in life is rarely the result of one big decision. It is the result of thousands of small influences reinforcing each other. The music you listen to, the words you hear, the habits you witness, the standards you see, and the energy you feel every day guide you forward or hold you back. You may believe you are choosing your path entirely by will, but often the environment is quietly steering the wheel. When you become aware of the power of environment, you begin to take control of it. You choose what to keep around you and what to remove. You stop treating your surroundings as accidental and start shaping them intentionally. That is when direction becomes intentional instead of accidental, and growth becomes natural instead of forced. Self-talk determines self-belief because the mind accepts repetition as truth. The words you silently speak to yourself every day form the foundation of how you see your abilities, your worth, and your potential. This internal dialogue is constant, and most people are not even aware of how much it influences them. If the voice inside your head is negative, critical, and doubting, your confidence quietly erodes. If that voice is encouraging, honest, and supportive, your belief begins to strengthen naturally. Each thought you think is a suggestion given to your subconscious. The brain does not carefully analyze every thought for accuracy. It absorbs what is repeated most often. When you repeatedly tell yourself that you are not good enough, not smart enough, or not capable enough, your mind begins to treat those statements as facts. You start behaving in ways that align with those beliefs. You hesitate, you procrastinate, and you avoid challenges because you already expect failure. This does not happen because of lack of talent, but because the internal story has already convinced you of the outcome. Positive self-talk is not about lying to yourself or ignoring weaknesses. It is about choosing language that builds rather than destroys. There is a difference between saying, "I'm terrible at this," and saying, "I'm still learning how to improve." The first sentence shuts down effort. The second keeps the door open for growth. Your brain responds differently to each. The language you use does not just describe your reality, it shapes it. Self-belief grows from consistency and internal encouragement. When you speak to yourself with patience and respect, you develop trust in your own mind. You stop treating yourself as an enemy and start treating yourself as a partner. This relationship with yourself directly impacts your willingness to take risks and face discomfort. A person who believes they can improve is more likely to try. A person who constantly doubts themselves avoids effort because they wish to avoid pain. Fear is heavily influenced by self-talk. When faced with a challenge, the mind starts producing automatic thoughts. These thoughts either prepare you for effort or convince you to retreat. If your self-talk says, "This is too hard, I'm not capable," your body feels tension, your breathing changes, and your confidence drops. If your self-talk says, "This will be difficult, but I can figure it out step by step," your body relaxes enough to function. The challenge remains the same, but the internal narrative changes your performance. Your self-image is largely built through repeated internal language. Over time, you begin to identify with the stories you tell yourself. If you repeatedly label yourself as lazy, unfocused, or weak, you begin to live as if those labels are accurate. If you call yourself disciplined, learning, improving, and resilient, you begin to act in ways that support that identity. Identity is not fixed, it is reinforced by thought patterns. Self-talk also affects how you handle failure. After a setback, the internal response determines whether you recover or collapse. Negative self-talk turns mistakes into permanent identities. It says, "I always mess up. I can't do anything right." This kind of thinking keeps you stuck. Constructive self-talk treats failure as feedback. It says, "That didn't work. What can I learn from this?" This creates momentum instead of paralysis. Another hidden impact of self-talk is how it affects energy. Negative internal dialogue drains motivation and increases stress. It creates mental exhaustion because you are constantly battling yourself. Positive internal dialogue conserves energy because it aligns your thoughts with your actions. When your mind supports your effort instead of resisting it, progress feels lighter, even when the work remains challenging. The way you talk to yourself also influences how you allow others to treat you. When you believe you deserve respect, you naturally set boundaries. When you believe you are not worthy, you tolerate less and accept more negativity. Your standards for friendships, work, and opportunities are shaped by how valuable you believe you are, and that value is constructed in your own mind through repeated language. Ultimately, self-talk is not just internal noise, it is the blueprint for your self-belief. It defines your courage, your hesitation, your resilience, and your consistency. Long before the world judges you, you have already judged yourself internally. The way you speak to yourself prepares you either to rise or to retreat, to build or to break, to try or to hide. Every sentence you whisper to yourself is shaping the person you are becoming in silence. Rebuilding starts with small, consistent actions because real change rarely happens in dramatic, visible leaps. Most transformations are built quietly through tiny decisions repeated so often that they become habits. People often wait for a perfect moment to begin, believing that they need a sudden burst of motivation or a major life event to push them forward. In reality, progress does not begin with intensity, it begins with consistency. The smallest actions, when repeated daily, create a foundation strong enough to support long-term change. Small actions work because they reduce resistance. When a task feels overwhelming, the brain looks for escape. Fear, doubt, and procrastination take control when the goal feels too big or too distant. But when the action is simple and manageable, the mind does not feel threatened. A 5-minute effort feels safe. A single page read feels easy. A short walk feels achievable. These small steps trick the brain into starting, and once you start, momentum naturally grows. Consistency is what gives small actions their power. One push up does not build strength, one healthy meal does not change your body, and one focused work session does not build mastery. However, when these actions are repeated every day, they begin to compound. What seems insignificant in one moment becomes massive over time. Improvement is not the result of occasional excellence, but of dependable effort. The transformation may be slow, but it is steady, and that steadiness is what makes it real. Small, consistent actions also rebuild trust with yourself. Many people struggle with confidence not because they lack ability, but because they have broken too many promises to themselves. They set big goals and fail to follow through, which weakens their self-belief. When you commit to small daily actions and actually complete them, you begin to trust yourself again. That trust is the foundation of self-respect. Once you trust yourself, you become more willing to take on bigger challenges. Another reason small actions matter is that they reshape identity. You do not suddenly become a disciplined person. You become disciplined by proving it to yourself through daily behavior. Each small action is a vote for the person you want to become. When you choose to read instead of scroll, you are casting a vote for growth. When you choose to move your body instead of staying still, you are casting a vote for health. Over time, these votes build a new identity. You stop trying to be a new person and start living as one naturally. Consistency also builds resilience. When you accept that progress comes from small steps, you stop expecting perfection. You understand that missing one day does not cancel all progress. You learn to return to the habit instead of quitting completely. This mindset makes you durable. You no longer depend on motivation because the process is built into your routine. You grow more patient with yourself, and patience becomes a form of quiet strength. Small actions are especially powerful because they fit into real life. Big changes often collapse under pressure because they require huge amounts of time, energy, and focus. Small habits can survive stress, busy schedules, and emotional ups and downs. You can maintain them even when life becomes chaotic. That makes them reliable. Reliability is more valuable than excitement when rebuilding your life. The process of rebuilding is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming consistent. Small actions keep you grounded in reality rather than fantasy. They force you to focus on what you can control today instead of worrying about outcomes far in the future. This creates a calm sense of progress. You do not feel stuck because you can see that you are moving forward step by step, even if the movement is slow. Small, consistent actions also teach discipline without burnout. When you only push yourself occasionally with extreme effort, you exhaust your willpower. But when you build habits that are easy to maintain, you create a sustainable system for growth. This system becomes part of your lifestyle rather than a temporary push. Over time, the actions that once felt small begin to feel natural, and the natural actions slowly become powerful change. Rebuilding yourself is not a sudden event. It is a quiet decision repeated every day through choices that seem too small to matter. But those small actions matter more than anything else because they create direction, confidence, identity, and momentum all at once. Every small step is a brick in the foundation of the person you are rebuilding, and with enough repetition, that foundation becomes unbreakable through time. As you leave here today, remember this: you don't have to be perfect, and you don't have to have everything figured out. You just have to be willing to begin again. Rebuilding yourself isn't about erasing your past. It's about learning from it and rising stronger because of it. Your mistakes did not ruin you. Your struggles did not end you. They shaped you. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not finished. Every day gives you a choice to stay where you are or to take one small step toward the person you know you can become. That step matters. Your effort matters. Your future matters. And someday, when you look back, you won't be proud of the comfort you chose. You'll be proud of the courage you showed. So walk forward with confidence. Walk forward with discipline. And most importantly, walk forward believing in yourself. Good luck message. Good luck on your journey of rebuilding yourself. May you find strength in your struggles, clarity in your purpose, and courage in every step you take. Remember, you are capable of more than you think, and your future is built by what you choose today. Thank you, message. Thank you for giving me your time, your attention, and your belief. Thank you for listening not just with your ears, but with your heart. I hope these words stay with you long after this moment and inspire you to rise, rebuild, and become the best version of yourself. Thank you, and may your journey begin today.